and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting over episode 6 of One Punch Man. If you'd like to watch along, start watching now. So we're back outside Saitama's apartment, and it's been a couple days since he joined up. Unfortunately, there haven't been any big monsters, so Saitama's just been kind of not really doing anything. Meanwhile, Genos moved in as his roommate, and he's sort of just taking notes on literally everything Saitama does, as though it might be part of the secret to his power. Saitama already divulged the secret, but that doesn't really matter to Genos. Genos also drops the bombshell that because Saitama is merely a C-class hero, if he doesn't do anything heroic in a week, he'll be removed from the registry. Little does Saitama realize, but C-class heroes generally deal with petty crime rather than the big monsters Saitama's used to. So Saitama is suddenly struck with inspiration to give Genos a bunch of bunk information. Some bunk wisdom as a teacher. Because you're a cyborg, you can't train your body. So instead, you have to train your mind. He even resorts to reading off the back of the manga he was reading because he can't think of something sufficiently realistic sounding to fool Genos. Of course, Genos being the concrete thinker he is, he buys whatever Saitama's saying without question. So Saitama's running around the city looking for crime, but given how fast he is, you'd think he'd be causing more trouble than whatever crime he would stop. So it's now the next day, And this is really the last day, the last chance Saitama has before he loses his registration. Serendipitously, Speed of Sound Sonic shows up again. Of course, Saitama can't remember his name. He left that little of an impression on him. But Saitama doesn't really understand what's going on. He says, "I'm busy. I need to find a criminal." He doesn't realize that Sonic is a criminal. And that was a neat little scene right there where Sonic swings the sword at him and Saitama just bites the blade and breaks it. And for a brief instant, Saitama is acting serious, and that intimidates Sonic. So the situation gets a little more complicated. The citizenry thinks Saitama's being some kind of creep in public, and another C-class hero, Tank Top Tiger, has been dispatched to take care of him. So, to make matters worse, a whole bunch of people recognize Tank Top Tiger, and everyone just kind of looks down on Saitama. He's really having a rough go of things. So, Speed of Sound Sonic, upset at being ignored, he just puts Tank Top Tiger in the ground easily because he doesn't want to be ignored. So this sets the crowd into a panic because now there's an actual villain wreaking havoc. So even as Sonic starts just destroying things wantonly, Saitama doesn't even really seem to understand the full weight of what's going on. You know, he just wants to do his job and be a hero. He doesn't have time for Sonic interfering. He needs to find some villain to beat up. He only just realizes that Sonic fits the bill and smacks him into the pavement like it's nothing. So at Hero Association HQ, it seems like City Z is the epicenter of all kinds of spooky stuff. Right now, they're just investigating parts of it as a formality. But and here we have another Class S hero, Tatsumaki. And she's a psychic. And she seems pretty temperamental considering she wants to check out City Z. And when they say no, she immediately jumps to thinking it's because she's not good enough. Or rather, they don't think she's good enough. So the Hero Association is having a sort of boardroom meeting again. They appear to be discussing the S-Class heroes and what they're up to. So Watchdog Man, one of the S-Class heroes, is hanging out in City Q, and apparently he's keeping the whole thing under control. So as all these different heroes are reporting in, it seems like everything is business as usual. So the Hero Association seems to be focused on early detection of monsters. They're even keeping tabs on Hammerhead, who's now just trying to get a job like a normal person. And that also explains the investigation of City Z. But aside from those two things, they don't really have very many leads. So 2 A-class heroes were dispatched to investigate the goings-on in City Z. So there's a sort of ghost town area in City Z which apparently has an enormously high amount of monsters. And based on the scenery, it appears to be right around where Saitama lives. So the two heroes are sort of talking amongst themselves as they enter the ghost town. And they don't really know what the cause of all the monsters is in City Z. But the prevailing theory seems to be there's just a natural colony of monsters that's reproducing on its own. Back in the apartment, Genos is aware that something's going on. Although he's not acting yet. So since the monster isn't going after Saitama's house, Genos doesn't really care and he just sort of returns to the chores that Saitama has no doubt assigned to him as a condition of being his roommate. So Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio here might have gotten themselves in more trouble than they initially thought, because this seaweed monster is pretty resilient. Well, Spring Mustachio seems to be a pretty decent match for it, especially considering Golden Ball was taken out of the fight pretty early. So the two are sort of sizing each other up. You know, the monster's somewhat impressed with Spring Mustachio, and likewise, Spring Mustachio is also impressed, considering how the seaweed tentacles were able to resist being cut by his sword. Funnily enough, he's taking the time to talk with the monster. I know that's because he's secretly calling for help, but that the monster would even be open to talking seems kind of strange compared to a lot of the other monsters we've seen. So the call has officially gone out for all heroes Class A and higher to help out in City Z. And a bunch of heroes have gotten the message, but none of them really seem to be mobilizing so far. Spring Mustachio by this point is bloodied and his sword has broken. Things aren't going very well for him. Fortunately for the two heroes, the seaweed monster doesn't really seem interested in killing them. If anything, it's more interested in being famous and feared by the humans. Unfortunately, it has now crossed paths with Saitama, which means nothing less than death. So Saitama remarks that he forgot to buy kombu for his soup stock. And Geno says, hey, there's a lot of kombu outside. What's the deal with that? And Saitama tells a lie. I just happened to get a lot for cheap. Yeah, I totally didn't kill a monster that was made out of kombu. So Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio were laid up in the hospital. They really took a beating, and considering they're both A-class heroes, that sort of tells you how strong the seaweed monster was. And this report from them is filtering all throughout the Hero Association. So everybody knows that there's some serious stuff in City Z. So, the guy from the Hero Association is showing off the destruction from the monster. But what they don't realize is that that's the destruction Saitama caused in slaying the monster. So a small strike force of B and A class heroes show up, and they're sort of investigating. And the general consensus is none of them really want to fight a monster that could make that big hole in the building. And like the rumors are really starting to spread. Like it's on the news, it's being discussed by monsters. So they know that there's some kind of terrifying monster in City Z. But in reality, it's just Saitama. And he's really only scary if you were a monster. So in the intervening time period, Saitama has gone all the way up to rank 342 from 388. Presumably just from beating up Sonic. And while Saitama's had to hunt down something in a week, Genos hasn't had to do anything at all. Of course, despite him not doing anything, he's already number 6 in the popularity poll for all the heroes. He's immediately popular with all the ladies, much to Saitama's envy. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means tune in for the next episode.